see what I want to talk about today. There we go, I'm in frame. All right. So, what I'm talking about on my Instagram is the idea of like the thought of the 1% versus the 99% and the statement that only 1% of people make it. For me, I don't like that idea because, like, why are we right off the bat just viewing ourselves as not that 1%? Like, why are we using the 99% as the excuse to not put our all into something and not pursue something all the way? To be honest, that's majority of the reason that there is the 99% is because they're using each other as an excuse to not put their all into something, because it's hard to put your all into something. But this is something I've been reflecting on. I'm not even going to look at my notes. In terms of content and pursuing this, which is a lot harder of a means of making a job because it's a lot more like, I guess, it's just a lot harder than maybe sales or something, right? So it's hard to commit to all parts of it, like scripting, filming, editing. It's hard to commit to that and make that like a lifestyle, make that something that you consistently commit to. But I've been hearing this a lot, that instead of striving for external goals we want to achieve, we need to strive for an identity shift within ourselves. Like, we are the person who is a content creator, has 100K on Instagram. Like, to achieve these goals, you're a lot more likely to achieve them when you actually become the person and the identity that already has that ahead of time. And I've always kind of believed in that, but a lot of people think it's kind of BS. So let me kind of paint this picture for you. And I know like a lot of you are going to resonate. So let's take sports, for example. Or I'll just give put some personal testimonies y'all can relate to. When I first started going to the gym, back in high school, I was inconsistent with it because of running. And so for 4 years in high school, I always saw the gym as something that I couldn't commit to, that I could stick to for maybe a week or two at a time, but I could not stick to it permanently. That's how I always saw it. And that was because I had the identity of somebody that didn't take the gym seriously, that wasn't committed to the gym. And then my biggest fear, once I finished high school and was actually started to go to the gym, my biggest fear was I wouldn't be able to keep it. I wouldn't be able to make it stick. So as the weeks went on of me lifting, I started in June. As July came and August came, every single day that came, I was thinking, okay, like, maybe I've shown up today, but I don't know if I'll be able to stick to this. And then as the weeks came, I've shown up to it this week. I don't know if I can commit to it to the next week. But you realize that for any sort of disciplinary act, it takes execution over an extended period of time before that becomes habit that is no longer actually discipline for you. I wouldn't consider it discipline for me to go to the gym or run or read my Bible, because those things are genuinely enjoyable to me. They take no friction to do. There's no friction in doing any of those things. Mental effort that, like, no longer is that discipline, because discipline has to be something that somewhat is of friction, somewhat you have to motivate yourself or discipline yourself to do. But once it becomes a habit, I don't think that's no longer discipline. So that's just an example. I adopted the identity of somebody that was consistent in the gym, consistently showed up to the gym and put effort in. And so no longer did I even have to think about it or motivate myself to go, because I had just subconsciously, through repeated actions, adopted that as part of who I am. Same thing with reading the Bible. When I first started reading the Bible, it was inconsistent. And when I would do it, I was bored and I had to force myself. And then over the past year, it's become something I wake up, I don't even think about it. It's like when you first woke up and read the Bible, the whole day felt like a breeze because you felt so good about doing that thing. And now when I read the Bible, it's such a secondary thought in my head. Like, I put my all into it, but it's not, I don't have to work up the effort to do it anymore, that it's just part of my day. Or take, for example, getting up early. When I first started getting up early in the summer, 6, 7 a.m., I genuinely thought every single day that I got up and did it, there's no way I can stick to this tomorrow. Like, I can't imagine sticking to this for more than a month. And now I'm 8 months in. I wake up at 6 to 6:30 every single day, and it's no effort. There's zero resistance. I prefer it over staying up and getting up later. And so the more and more you commit to an action and stick to it, it becomes part of your identity. But that first week, 2 weeks, month is such a friction and such a hurdle. That is the hardest part. When you think of, like, when I think of these businessmen like Alex Hormozy or Elon Musk, like, or Jeff Bezos, how do they work so many hours every single day, just consistent day after day after day? It's because that's part of their identity. It's no longer difficult for them to do those sustained hours of work. Like, the work is hard, but the act of like doing those consistent hours is no longer hard for them. Showing up isn't difficult for them anymore because it's part of who they are. And so you can't become that until you consistently, especially for the harder things in life, embrace like, this is who I am. I will show up and consistently do this until I've proven it with so much evidence that nothing could prove this wrong. And so for me, like today, I scripted 3 reels, took 90 minutes. In the past, I used to hate that. Today, on and off. I like filming, I don't like the scripting. But in my head, I'm asking myself before every decision I'm making now, like, what would $1 million a year Mark do in this position to put himself where he needs to go? Like, that Mark that's already making $1 million a year, what would he do right now? Would he doom scroll or goof off, or would he script? He would script. And so what did I do? I scripted. Because the more and more I act as the person that earns $1 million a year, the sooner I'll become that. So for you guys, whatever goal you have, especially the bigger the goal, you have to force yourself to do those hard things until it becomes habit, until it just becomes part of your identity. But for it to become part of your identity, you need to adopt it as part of your identity and live in that before it can even happen. You can't have the goal be make $1 million. You have to, the goal be the person who can make that, because it's never going to happen until you actually have the evidence and the backed up repetition of being able to get there and make it happen. Because that takes sustained work effort. It takes sustained focus and discipline. You don't just get lucky doing that. Very few people get lucky doing that. There's a reason that the people that win the lottery lose the money. Their identity isn't rooted in keeping that amount of money and saving it and wealth. Their identity is not rooted in that. An amazing verse that I read today in the Bible, I don't have the Bible with me, but the power even generating wealth is by God, is from God. So I start praying like, okay, God, if I'm meant to generate wealth, I know it's through your power. Bless me with that. Bless me with the wisdom of generating wealth in the way that I'm supposed to. Not only with my purpose, but with like saving it well, right? Probably not the best idea buying a coffee. So yeah, that was kind of like the main thing I want to talk about today. The 1% are the 1% because their identity lives in that. The 99% wanted to keep that same identity, but have the actions and the rewards of the 1%. It's like, if I got $1 million right now, I would be cooked because I wouldn't know how to save it. I wouldn't know how to spend it as wisely as I would months from now, all those kinds of things. You don't become that person externally until internally you have the identity of it. I ran a half marathon on Christmas Eve. Not a race, just because I wanted to. Later that day, I went to the gym. It wasn't on the schedule. I went there because I wanted to, because it's fun for me. That used to have to be something I would have forced. But there's zero friction there. And the more and more I show up on those scripting days, a month, 2 months, 3 months from now, there's going to be no friction there. It's literally just going to be a repetition. And I'm not even going to be proud of showing up anymore for that because it's so consistent. So whatever that identity is, this is my challenge for you. This is one question I want you to ask throughout your day for the next, just focus on one day, but for the next week, the one question I want you to ask, whatever person you want to be, let's say this year you want to lose 50 pounds. Adopt the identity of a person that is already X weight, 150 pounds. That person is committed to the gym. They show up to the gym 6 days a week. They do 30 minutes of cardio every single day. They eat a clean diet 6 days out of the week. Adopt that identity. And then my challenge for you is every single time that you are hit with, you're going to get hit with multiple opportunities throughout the day for you to decide, I can fall back into the old me and do the old me's decisions, or I can do what the future identity that I'm already adopting now would do in this moment to get myself that much closer to there. You have multiple opportunities for that every single day. whenever those opportunities arise, simply ask yourself this: what would X version of me do in this moment now? And whatever that is, do it. I don't care how much it sucks, because it won't suck for long. It will soon become habit and normal, and pretty soon, like, your daily life is going to be so different and enjoyable, and the dreams you've been living, because it's not a dream. You've been stacking up bricks of habit and identity every single day to make it so much of a reality that unless it's not in God's will, it can't happen. But it's never going to happen by you committing just when you feel like it. It will never happen when you commit just when you feel like it. It just won't. Sorry to tell you, but that's the truth. So I feel like I honestly spit some bars on this video. I'm going to clip this for Instagram. But yeah, that's the big thing, is the 1% are the 1% because they have the identity of the 1%. The 99% are the 99% because they have the identity of the 99%. That's why we see the biggest business owners in the world think so radically different from us. You can't think like the 99% and expect to be the 1%. There's a reason that most people live similar lives. It's because most people think the same way. And once you start thinking a different way, you start acting and behaving in a different way, which leads to externally different results. But that doesn't happen until internally you've been changed and shifted identity. So y'all have a great one. Ask yourself that question today. Every time you have an opportunity to fold and do what the old you would do, what would X version of me do in this moment now? And do that. Peace.